Mona Lisa Smile is a film that can be related to education. In this film, the main character is played by Julia Roberts, and it is about a teacher who goes and teaches art history at a very prestigious all-female Wesley College. In this college, the women are taught to be what they would consider acceptable in a high-end society. This film is set in the conservative 1950s. During this time, women were allowed more freedom. They were allowed to get an education and everything. However, they were expected to act a certain way. For example, specifically for this college, the women were allowed to get an education and become successful in the college, but they were expected that right after they graduated, they were going to get married, start a family. And then after that, they were just going to have to focus on the family. The teacher in this film, she disagreed with these norms. She disagreed because she knew that her students had potential, and she wanted them to learn outside from what they were taught all their life, to just follow a textbook. The school did have a right to get after Miss Watson because she is an employee in the school. And as an employee, she must follow what she is told to follow. Like, she can't just teach whatever she wants to teach. She must follow the standards and the curriculum that is set by the school. Because she refused to follow what they would tell her, there was times where she got in trouble. But it got to a point where she just didn't care, because she knew that at the end it was going to benefit her students, and she wanted them to aim for higher. She wanted them to open their mind to different opportunities. Furthermore, a teacher can get in trouble for teaching something that is not in the curriculum. An example of this was a case that took place in 1925, and this occurred in Tennessee. And there was a high school teacher who was charged with violating the Tennessee law against teaching evolution instead of the divine creation of man.
Catherine Ann Watson is a 30-year-old graduate student in the Department of Art History, who takes a position as a teacher of the history of art at a conservative women's private liberal arts college in Massachusetts. She wants to influence the next generation of women. She is not married, and that is something that makes the students question things about themselves. She encounters many types of young ladies, and they all have the same point of view, which is to get married. She meets a student named Betty Warren, who is very conservative. Her only goal in life is to get married, which is something that frustrates Catherine, her professor. Another student is Joanne Brandwin, who has a dream of becoming a lawyer. When Catherine finds out about that dream, she encourages Joanne to apply to Yale School of Law, where she is accepted. But at the end of the movie, Catherine finds out that Joanne decided to not go to the school because she wanted more to get married than to continue in her career. Catherine encounters many types of students, but her relationship with Betty is one where they disagree in many different points of view, which still happens in today's classrooms. Catherine wants the students to do more than just to get married, but sadly that is the opposite of what Betty wants to do. The relationship of Joanne Brandwin with her professor is one where they together share their ideas to each other without ending in conflict. By seeing these types of relationships, the strengths and weaknesses of the professor are visible. She is able to handle the class full of students who think they know it all, as well as to create meaningful relationships with her students. The teacher-student relationship was visible with Joanne and Catherine, but sadly not much with Betty. Some of the weaknesses of the professor is that she wanted to change their students' way of thinking. She did not want to put herself in their shoes, but only to open their eyes to let them know that there is more in this life than to get a husband. Like Catherine, the teachers of today want to show the students that they can do more than what they think they can do. Teachers today also provide students with all the resources they can. Catherine was able to connect with each one of the students who went up to her for an advice and impacted them as well.
During the 1950s, most women were just seen as housewives catering to their husbands or young children. They were known to just stay at home and obey whatever the husband would tell them to do. In the movie Mona Lisa's Smile, however, we see that Professor Miss Watson wanted to teach young women that there was more than being just a housewife, that they can still go to school and graduate while maintaining a family. During her lectures, she realized the class had memorized everything on the syllabus, so her role of ethic was to switch up lessons and teach them something that wasn't on there. She began to teach the women that it's okay to have a voice and that they are way smarter than what they believe they are, and always highly encouraged them to pursue further education even if they did get married. She tried to instill in them that being married was good and all, but that shouldn't stop them from doing what they want to do. Even though she had some setbacks from administration because they weren't as progressive as she was, she never let that get in the way from her passion with teaching. Miss Watson's disposition was very important to her. She truly loved the subject she taught and loved encouraging her students to think beyond the status quo. Eventually, students who always tried to bring her down at the beginning and judged her for the way she was, eventually ended up loving her and they ended up being a great role model in their lives.
The lasting impacts of Mona Lisa's Smile. The film inspired and educated young viewers, students, and aspiring educators to question and consider the traditional social roles of women in the 1950s. The film portrayed inspiration and independence by Catherine Watson, who challenged the opinion status quo of the highly institutionalized Wellesley College, which is a highly conservative and exclusive to house all-American white women who are also known as the smartest women in the country, to fulfill and educate them to the traditional roles of becoming housewives and the idealistic partners for their husband to marry. However, this was considered repressive to Catherine Watson at the time, who believed that women should be striving for excellency. Her arrival was considered a cultural shock. However, she believed that she could make a difference, and she did. Watson's modern art and political teaching was viewed as subversive and progressive to arrogant students and faculty of the college. However, she managed to inspire her students and colleagues to achieve an enlightened sense of reality and independence through her disposition, which also revolved around her attitude, teaching, and beliefs about the institution. Her lasting impact promotes the university's demand to a greater sense of excellency and success, and upend her students to achieve their own individualistic talents, dreams, and intellectual freedom. She believed that the university should also always encourage that women can do almost anything as well as men. Mona Lisa's Smile is a great film that inspires viewers, aspiring educators, and students like me to look beyond the text, the paint, and the words in a new perspective. This is a great film to watch, and I highly recommend it. Thank you.